Hey Tyers, Darren here again with another fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying the Doc Spratley. This is an attractor fly designed by Dr. Donald A. Spratley back in the 1940s. Now the Doc Spratley has become a well-known staple for lakes and still waters of British Columbia, and anglers in the area swear by this fly. It's fished primarily as a dragonfly nymph in the larger sizes, but is also considered to be a chironomid imitation in smaller sizes down into like say number 10 or number 12. There's three main color variations that I tie in this pattern. There's the red, black, and olive. There's also a lesser known peacock version which anglers tend to covet somewhat. Also to note, there is a steelhead version of this fly which is tied on one of the black japanned steelhead hooks in, say, a size 2 or 4. And this is typically tied with a bit of a bulkier wing, and it may also have a hackle and a dub body on it. Alright, let's get started. Fresh hook in the vise. Today I'm tying with a Talon 4XL streamer. This model is the TA-ST2224X, and this is a size 4. I don't believe this brand is made any longer, so if you're having trouble finding this particular hook, you can sub it out for a TMC 300 or any other 4XL hook. Should work fine. Alright, I'm using a black 6/0 thread. I'm going to tie in at the eye. And we're just going to wrap back about to the hook point. First thing we're tying in today is a little bit of guinea fowl. This has a nice dotted pattern on it. I'm going to just take off the fluff off the bottom. I'm going to take a few fibers off the bottom of one side. And we're going to just bunch those together. We'll tie that in as a tail. Just want to try and make sure that it stays on top of the hook. Next I'm tying in a piece of gold silver tinsel. This is a size 14 uni tinsel. I'm going to tie it in with the gold side facing out. And I'm just going to tie that along the side of the hook. I'm going to wrap that down up to about the 3/4 mark, and we're going to weight this fly with a little bit of lead. I'm using a lead 020, and let's just move that thread out of the way. I'm going to add about 10 wraps or so. 10 to 15. Just to help this fly sink a little quicker. And next, we're going to add a little bit of wool. We're going to tie this one in a black color. So we'll just tie that in right after our lead. This will help keep our body a little bit more even as well. Just tie that down to the base of the tail and wrap our thread up just after the lead. Alright. So we're just going to wrap the wool upwards And for this wool, I just use knitting wool, and I just separate the strands. Usually there's 3 strands. You just don't want to take too big of a piece, as it will fray a little bit after a certain length. It's the same wool I use for some of my dubbings as well, so you get multi-use out of it. But one thing I like about the wool bodies is after you fish them a little bit, the fibers tend to pull out a little bit. It gives it a bit more of a buggy look. Alright, I'm going to add a half hitch in here. We're just going to wrap our tinsel as a ribbing. Wrap that up. Make sure you get both sides so that it's locked in place. Alright, we'll flip that upside down. I'm going to take a little bit more of our guinea fowl. I like to tie the throat fairly thick on these, so I might sometimes add a couple applications of guinea fowl. So I'm going to bulk that up a little bit. And one way I do that is to tie a little bit on each side. So I'll tie a little bit on the close side. Then I'll take another small clump and I'll tie that on the far side. You just want to make sure that you tie it in all at the same length. Now I'll just trim out the butt ends. Don't have to be too precise on this. These will get covered up by thread. And we'll flip that back. Next we're going to use a little bit of pheasant tail. This is ringneck pheasant tail. We're going to select a bunch of fibers, say about 10 fibers or so. And we're just going to make sure that our tips are lined up. We'll tie that the length to the tail. And I like to do probably 2 bunches. I'm going to say they're actually probably closer to 15 to 20 fibers in those bunches. And I do this in 2 clumps, so I can make the second one a little bit longer than the first. And we'll trim the butt ends. Make sure that wing is sitting on the way we want it. Then we're going to take about, say, 3-4 strands of peacock herl. And again, if you've been watching me tie, you'll know that I use mostly peacock herl straight from the stem. So just trim off the tips. We'll tie that in. We'll take our thread down to the eye, and we're just going to wrap. You want this to be fairly bushy. If you want to add a twist in there or reinforce that, you definitely can, but I like the head of my Spratley to be fairly bushy, and I don't like to bind down any of that peacock herl. So we'll just tie that off at the eye. Make sure we got both sides tied down. Peacock. I'll just add a whip finish. And this fly is ready to go. If you have any questions about the pattern, feel free to post in the comments below and I'll get back to you. If you like these videos, make sure you take a minute to hit that like button and subscribe so you get updated on any future videos we have. There you go, the Doc Spratley in black. Hope you like it. And remember, keep a hook in your vise.